Today on Forbes, this tech entrepreneur is the richest black person in America. The wealthiest black person in America is IT entrepreneur David Steward, according to the 2024 Forbes 400 list of wealthiest Americans. Last week, on October 1st, Forbes revealed its annual ranking, which estimated the Missouri resident's net worth at a record $11.4 billion, up from $7.6 billion last year and $6 billion the year before that. Steward, who resides in St. Louis, tops private equity billionaire Robert Smith, who is the second richest, with an estimated net worth of $10.8 billion. They're two of just 4 black members on the 2024 ranking, which required a minimum net worth of $3.3 billion, the most ever. That means just 1% of the list members are black entrepreneurs or executives. The other two are Palantir co-founder Alexander Karp, who makes his debut with an estimated $3.6 billion, and NBA great Michael Jordan, worth an estimated $3.5 billion. Steward, who is 73 years old, is the majority owner of Worldwide Technology, or WWT, alongside partner Jim Kavanaugh. A native of Clinton, Missouri, Steward initially put up $250,000 in capital to start WWT in 1990, according to a 2019 Forbes profile. Over the years, the IT service provider went on to nab top corporate clients, including Apple, Citi, Microsoft, and the federal government. In 2023, WWT had sales of $17 billion. Roughly 67% of the Forbes 400 are self-made this year, including all 4 of the black members. Steward, though, is among a very elite group of just 25 billionaires who have been given a maximum 10 on the self-made scorecard, meaning that he is one of just a handful who truly have rags to riches stories. Steward grew up in the segregated South with 7 siblings. His father worked as a mechanic, janitor, and trash collector. After graduating from Central Missouri University, he worked in sales for the Missouri Pacific Railroad, Union Pacific, and FedEx. In 1983, Steward purchased his first business, an auditing company called Transportation Business Specialists, using loans from community banks throughout Missouri. In the early days of Worldwide Technology, which, as we said, he co-founded in 1990, Steward sometimes went without a paycheck and once watched his car get repossessed from the office parking lot. During a lecture in 2013 at the Optical Fiber Communication Conference, Steward told the crowd, quote, "You know what it takes to get into business and what it takes to be an entrepreneur? It takes a little risk. It takes getting past your fears. It's having much faith of the possibilities as well. And being able to put everything on the line because you know you've been called upon to do something very special. It doesn't take a whole lot of money." Overall, Steward ranks number 84 on the 400 list in 2024, up from number 121 in 2023, and from number 155 in 2022. Smith, the CEO of private equity firm Vista Equity Partners, is ranked number 88, up 1 spot from last year when he was worth $9.2 billion. Karp, meanwhile, is one of 23 newcomers to the list. The trio of Steward, Smith, and Karp made their wealth in the 2 most common industries for the 400 wealthiest Americans: finance and tech. Jordan made his fortune in sports, but mainly after transitioning from NBA player to NBA team owner. Jordan, who ranks number 385 with a net worth of $3.5 billion, first debuted a year ago after selling his majority stake in the Charlotte Hornets for $3 billion. Several other black billionaires are part of the 415 Americans who are worth 10 figures but are still simply not rich enough to make the Forbes 400. That includes Oprah Winfrey at $3 billion, Sean Jay-Z Carter at $2.5 billion, Tope Awatana at $1.4 billion, Tyler Perry at $1.4 billion, Rihanna at $1.4 billion, Tiger Woods at $1.3 billion, LeBron James at $1.2 billion, Magic Johnson at $1.2 billion, and Sheila Johnson at $1 billion. For full coverage and to see the whole 2024 Forbes 400 list, check out Jabari Young's piece on forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in. Today on Forbes, Russia's richest woman handed over a third of her fortune. Then things turned deadly. One of Russia's most compelling entrepreneurial tales has turned into a deadly nightmare. On Wednesday, at least 2 people died and 7 others were injured after a shooting at the Moscow headquarters of Wildberries, Russia's largest online retailer, according to media reports. Tatiana Bakalchuk, the self-made billionaire who founded Wildberries, the $5.9 billion in sales retailer comparable to Amazon in the US, blamed her estranged husband and co-founder, Vladislav Bakalchuk, who she said led a group of armed people into the e-commerce giant's headquarters in an attempt to seize operations. In a Telegram post in the hours after the shooting that Forbes translated into English, Bakalchuk, the richest woman in Russia, said, quote, "This is a hostile takeover, or rather an unsuccessful attempt." She added that she's appealed to law enforcement, quote, "to take control of this situation." Both of the people killed were Wildberries security guards, according to Russia's Interfax news agency. On Thursday, Vladislav was arrested and charged with murder, the outlet reported, citing his defense team. Dozens of others were also arrested in connection with the shooting. Vladislav has maintained his innocence, arguing that Wildberries officers fired on him and his security team unprovoked when he arrived for a pre-organized meeting, leaving some of those who joined them wounded. Wednesday's tragic events appear to be the latest escalation in a months-long battle between the Bakalchuks, who have been married for at least 20 years, over the future of the e-commerce giant they long ran together. Tatiana left Vladislav in April and then said in July she'd filed for divorce. 1 month before filing the divorce petition, Wildberries announced its plan to merge with Russ Outdoor, a Russia-based billboard and outdoor advertising operator once owned by billionaire Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, but sold multiple times before landing with little-known Russian businessman Gregory Sadoyan. The business's day-to-day operations seem to be run by brothers Robert and Levan Mirzoyan. While Tatiana endorsed the merger as a way to grow the Wildberries business, Vladislav came out publicly against the deal. Enlisting the help of Chechnya's leader Ramzan Kadyrov, a close ally of President Vladimir Putin, and Putin's self-described, quote, foot soldier, Vladislav and Kadyrov released a video in which they accused Russ Outdoor of seizing Wildberries. In the same video, Kadyrov vowed to, quote, return Tatiana to the family and protect a legitimate business. New reporting by Forbes, however, sheds more light on why these tensions may have bubbled over. In the months since the merger, publicly available documents reveal that Wildberries transferred all of its valuable assets into a joint venture with Russ. Wildberries moved 27 of its 30 subsidiaries into the new company, RWB LLC, according to Spark Interfax, a platform that shows the ownership of private companies in Russia. The 3 remaining subsidiaries do not appear to contain any significant portion of the business. Russ, meanwhile, transferred nothing, but gained a 35% stake in the new venture. Wildberries took 65%. Bakalchuk doesn't appear to have gained a stake in Russ as part of the transaction. The result? Russia's richest woman effectively gave away a 35% stake in her company, worth an estimated $3.4 billion. Her net worth has dropped to $4.1 billion, from $7.9 billion, according to Forbes' estimations. Her fortune is also down due to exchange rates. In an interview before the shooting, Vladislav raged against the deal, which he argued Tatiana had been tricked into. Prior to the deal, Vladislav, who claims to have been closely involved in building and running the business, told Russian media that the couple did not sign a prenup and told Forbes he believes he is entitled to half of the Wildberries business. There has been much scrutiny over the reason for the Russ-Wildberries merger in the first place. Despite a significant size difference, Russ recorded around $300 million in revenue last year, about 5% of Wildberries' 2023 sales. The two companies touted the merger as part of a broader plan to build the nation's largest and most high-tech digital marketplace focused on Russia, Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. For full coverage, check out Jemima McAvoy's piece on Forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in. Here's your Forbes Daily Briefing for Thursday, May 16th. Today on Forbes, Dubai Unlocked, Inside the Secret Billionaire Hideaways. In December 2023, Binance founder Changpeng Zhao, who is also known as CZ, asked the judge in his money laundering case in the U.S. District Court of Seattle if he could return to his home in Dubai while awaiting sentencing. The request was rejected, but when Zhao concludes his 4-month prison sentence later this year, the crypto mogul is likely to return to the Middle Eastern emirate. While it was well known that CZ owned an apartment in Dubai, the details have been kept under wraps until now. Through corporate filings for Binance subsidiaries in Ireland, Forbes had previously linked Zhao to a 429-square-foot studio apartment in a 23-story building on the dusty edges of Dubai, an unlikely home for a tycoon worth $33 billion. However, more recently, Forbes dug into dozens of property records in Dubai and matched them with information from corporate filings for Binance entities in Malta. That ultimately uncovered Zhao's actual Dubai home, an 11,600-square-foot, 6-bedroom apartment in the 118, a luxury residential tower in the heart of downtown, which he purchased for $13.5 million in October 2021. Zhao isn't the only billionaire whose recent purchases of Dubai real estate Forbes has investigated. In 2022, Mukesh Ambani, Asia's richest person, spent a combined $238 million on 2 villas on Palm Jumeirah, an exclusive palm tree-shaped archipelago of artificial islands. Both purchases broke the record for the most expensive home sale in Dubai. Documents seen by Forbes reveal the staggering size of the properties for the first time. Ambani bought the first, a 27,544-square-foot villa, in March 2022. He then bought a 59,570-square-foot home down the road 7 months later. Both were acquired through 2 offshore entities, including one tied to his publicly traded conglomerate, Reliance Industries. Forbes found that one billionaire, Vinod Adani, owns far more properties than was previously known. 17 personally, plus 1 held by his wife, Ranjanben, and 2 via Dubai-based Adani Global FZE. The older brother of Gautam Adani, once briefly the world's 3rd richest person, Vinod has an estimated $22.2 billion fortune thanks to his stakes in various companies in the Adani Group, the Indian conglomerate run by his brother, which he holds through offshore entities in Mauritius and the United Arab Emirates. His most valuable property is a 19,000-square-foot villa in the Tony Emirates Hills neighborhood, touted as the so-called Beverly Hills of Dubai, worth an estimated $10 million. But he also owns several apartments as well as a smaller 8,850-square-foot villa in Jumeirah Park, a neighborhood that faces the Jumeirah Islands. In an investigation led by the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, or OCCRP, and Norwegian outlet E24, Forbes spent months investigating hundreds of Dubai land registry documents to uncover the most comprehensive picture to date of not only which billionaires own properties in the city-state, but what exactly they own. Altogether, Forbes found 76 properties worth more than $600 million owned by 22 billionaires and their family members. They come from all over the world, hailing from 10 countries on 4 continents. The properties were revealed as part of Dubai Unlocked, a collaborative reporting project based on leaked data providing a detailed overview of hundreds of thousands of properties in Dubai and information about their ownership or usage, largely from 2020 to 2022. The data was obtained by the Center for Advanced Defense Studies, a nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C., that researches international crime and conflict. It was then shared with E24 and OCCRP, which coordinated an investigative project with 74 media outlets in 58 countries. Journalists used the data as a starting point to explore the landscape of foreign property ownership in Dubai. OCCRP, E24, Forbes, and their partners spent months verifying the identities of the people who appeared in the leaked data, as well as confirming their ownership status using official records, open source research, and other leaked data sets. Representatives for the billionaires with properties in Dubai either declined to comment or did not respond to Forbes' questions. Billionaires' attraction to Dubai is well known. After all, the emirate has no capital gains or income taxes, making it an attractive place for wealthy investors to park their cash. Luxury properties there also happen to be good investments. Home prices in the emirate rose by nearly 30% over the past 2 years, according to Deloitte. The booming market has been a boon for local billionaires too. Many of the city's most coveted neighborhoods, islands, and towers were built by developers who have gotten wealthy thanks to the influx of demand for local real estate. For full coverage, check out Giacomo Tagnini's piece on forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in. Today on Forbes, meet the first $100 billion woman. There's an elite group at the top of Forbes' Billionaires list, the $100 billion Club. It has been an all-male fraternity of billionaires worth $100 billion or more. On Wednesday, the gender balance changed ever so slightly. Françoise Bettencourt-Meyers, the vice chair of French cosmetics giant L'Oréal, is now worth $100.1 billion per Forbes' calculations, making her the first woman worth $100 billion or more. Bettencourt-Meyers, who is 70 years old, briefly passed the $100 billion mark on May 15th, but then dropped back down. On Wednesday, L'Oréal Group shares rose 0.8% to 455.6 euros, putting her net worth at $100.1 billion. This, according to our Forbes Real-Time Billionaires ranking. Most of her fortune is tied up in a nearly 35% stake in the beauty giant that she owns with her husband and 2 sons. She has served on the board since 1997. Back in April, L'Oréal's stock soared after it beat first quarter sales expectations. Its share price jumped more than 5% in one day, which put Bettencourt-Meyers within spitting distance of the cent-a-billionaire mark. The company pulled in $44 billion, or 41 billion euros, in 2023 revenues from its more than 36 brands, including Maybelline, Kiehl's, and Lancôme. Its success is partially attributed to its strategic acquisitions, such as its purchase of Australian beauty brand Aesop last summer, in a deal that valued the brand at $2.5 billion, adding to its luxe beauty category, which already includes brands like Prada Beauty and Yves Saint Laurent. Bettencourt-Meyers, granddaughter of L'Oréal founder Eugène Schuller, the man behind the invention of safe hair dye, made her first appearance on Forbes' ranking of the world's wealthiest in 2018, following the death of her socialite mother and leading L'Oréal shareholder, Liliane Bettencourt, in 2017. Both of Bettencourt-Meyers' sons, Jean-Victor Meyers and Nicolas Meyers, also serve on the L'Oréal board. Bettencourt-Meyers' fortune has increased by nearly $58 billion since her 2018 debut on Forbes' list. Despite the prominent milestone and her long-standing position as the richest woman in the world, the reclusive heiress prefers to keep a low profile. She shuns the spotlight she was born into and opts instead to write and play piano in her Paris home. Still, she joins a rarefied club as mega-wealth is soaring across the globe. There are now 16 cent-a-billionaires, all worth $100 billion or more, up from a record 14 in April when Forbes published its annual Billionaires ranking. The fortunes of these 16 are up nearly 40% from 2023, and their collective $2.2 trillion wealth accounts for 15% of the aggregate wealth of the 2,781 billionaires around the globe. A record 9 people have joined the cent-a-billionaire ranks this year, up from 6 last year and just 1 in 2020. Sitting atop the L'Oréal beauty empire, Bettencourt-Meyers is an outlier in a cohort made up mostly of tech tycoons like Mark Zuckerberg and Sergey Brin. Other uber-rich who have made their fortunes in consumer products include fellow French fashion and cosmetics mogul Bernard Arnault, who is CEO of LVMH, and fast fashion pioneer Amancio Ortega, creator of the Zara brand. The massive $100 billion figure seemed far out of reach until 1999, when Bill Gates briefly passed the mark as Microsoft's stock price peaked before crashing and slashing his net worth nearly in half. It took nearly 2 decades before Jeff Bezos became the sole cent-a-billionaire in 2017, followed by Bernard Arnault. Bill Gates and Elon Musk joined them in the $100 billion club in 2021. For full coverage, check out Samantha Krunje's piece on forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in. Today on Forbes, this billionaire beer baron wants to rebuild the Philippines. The opening photo on the website of San Miguel, best known for its eponymous 134-year-old beer brand, isn't that of its brewery, but of a 39-kilometer elevated expressway connecting Metro Manila with nearby provinces to its north and south. That pictorially depicts the biggest stakes for the storied conglomerate today. Under Chairman Ramon Ang, the company has repositioned itself as a nation builder with an ambitious push into infrastructure, winning bids for airports, toll roads, and power plants at nothing short of a frenetic pace. In March, it won a 171 billion peso, about $2.9 billion, contract to upgrade and operate Manila's aging Ninoy Aquino International Airport, the country's main gateway, even while it's halfway through constructing the new 735 billion peso Bulacan Airport, roughly 40 kilometers north of the capital city. The same month, San Miguel Global Power Holdings announced a three-way partnership with the Aboitiz families Aboitiz Power and Meralco Power Gen, backed by Metro Pacific Investments, which is jointly owned by Indonesian billionaire Anthony Salim's First Pacific and Filipino businessman Manuel Pangilinan. The three-way partnership's purpose is to develop a $3.3 billion integrated liquefied natural gas facility in Batangas province, south of Manila. This buzzing pipeline of infrastructure projects has made San Miguel the most indebted company in the Philippines today, with a staggering debt load of 1.5 trillion pesos, equivalent to about $26 billion as of 2023. The company's debt-to-equity ratio of 2.2 is more than twice the gearing of the country's biggest conglomerates, such as Ayala Corp and SM Investments, according to Bloomberg data. But Ang, who's also the company's single largest shareholder and features among the country's wealthiest with a $3.8 billion fortune, is undaunted. During a freewheeling 2-hour interview at the company's headquarters in the Ortigas Financial District, east of Manila, he says, quote, "San Miguel has the financial capacity to pursue these projects. Our investment plans are supported by a strong balance sheet." For Ang, who's 70 years old, the pivot is a chance to cement his legacy, re-engineering the food and beverage giant into an infrastructure colossus that is literally remaking the Philippines from the bedrock up. Over the next 5 years, Ang has earmarked capital expenditure of 1.4 trillion pesos, of which 86%, or 1.2 trillion pesos, will be deployed to expand the company's infrastructure footprint. The overarching goal behind this massive outlay is to boost economic growth in the Philippines, he says, by making it a more attractive destination for overseas investors and tourists. That, in turn, will lift consumer spending, boosting San Miguel's legacy food and beverages business. Ang says, quote, "When our economy is strong, when more Filipinos are prosperous, all our businesses benefit." San Miguel beer is virtually synonymous with the Philippines, and its far-flung distribution system reaches the remotest corners of the archipelago nation. From a brewery founded in 1890, when the Philippines was a Spanish colony, San Miguel expanded into food and packaging through the last century. Ang, who joined the company in 1998 as vice chairman, orchestrated San Miguel's expansion into more than a dozen new businesses, including oil refining, power generation, mass rail, and cement. In 2009, San Miguel embarked on its first toll road and power plant projects and took a majority stake in Petron, the country's biggest oil refiner by revenue, the following year. Since then, annual revenue has grown eightfold to 1.4 trillion pesos in 2023 from 174 billion pesos, and total assets are up nearly sixfold to 2.5 trillion pesos. For full coverage, check out Ian Sason and Jonathan Burgos' piece on forbes.com. Today on Forbes, what's driving the son of India's richest woman to pour billions into EVs? Sajan Jindal, the son of India's richest woman, Savitri Jindal, is steering his Mumbai-based steel and energy giant JSW Group into making cars. In March, he bought 35% of MG Motor India from China's SAIC Motor for an undisclosed amount. Parth Jindal, son of Sajan and a director of the renamed JSW MG Motor, is especially bullish on the electric vehicle market as India promotes the industry to reduce its dependence on imported crude oil. He says, quote, "When the transition to EVs started happening, we felt the playing field was becoming a lot more even, because for an established car player to get into EVs, or a new player, it's almost one and the same thing." SAIC retains 49% in the joint venture, while Singapore-based private equity firm Everstone Capital holds 8%, employees 5%, and MG car dealers 3%. JSW Group is injecting roughly $1.8 billion into JSW MG Motor to stoke production capacity to 300,000 units a year by 2026 and 1 million by 2030, compared with 100,000 units currently. The joint venture has a sole factory in the state of Gujarat, but plans to build another one nearby as it aims to launch a new model every 3 to 6 months. To reduce costs, the joint venture will buy more local parts, including materials from JSW Group. In March, India lowered import duties on certain EVs made by car makers that agree to invest at least $500 million and start manufacturing within 3 years. Parth says that the government, quote, must push auto majors to bring their technology into our country. That is the only way we'll be able to achieve India's objectives of transitioning from engines to EVs. According to the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, domestic passenger car sales jumped 8% in the year ended March 31st to 4.2 million units. EVs accounted for 2% of the total. According to Singapore-based research firm Canalys, India sold more than 29,800 EVs in the first quarter of 2024, up 37% on year. Tata Motors dominated the EV market in the first quarter of 2024 with a 67% share, while Billionaire Anand Mahindra's firm, Mahindra & Mahindra, and JSW MG Motor were in second and third place, respectively, with 13% each. They were followed by Citroën at 3% and other brands with 4%, according to Canalys. JSW MG Motor has 3 EV models, the ZS SUV, the Comet small car, and the recently launched mid-size Windsor crossover utility vehicle. Parth predicts passenger car sales will balloon 67% to 7 million vehicles by 2030, with EV sales surging to between 2 million and 2.5 million units. He says, quote, we would like to be selling 600,000 vehicles by 2030. He adds, of that, 75% will be EVs. He expects JSW MG Motor to post a 10% rise in revenue to nearly $1.5 billion in the year to March 31st, 2025, and grow tenfold thereafter to $15 billion in fiscal 2030. He says it will list in 3 to 5 years, and while it has not yet set a funding target, quote, auto companies in India are trading anywhere between 2 to 3 times revenue, so that would be our aim. For full coverage, and to see Forbes Asia's India's Richest 2024 list, check out Gloria Jareto's piece on forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in.